So welcome to Big Maths Beat That. You've downloaded the free challenges that go with Big Maths Beat That. It's just a small part of the Big Maths approach, but it can make a huge difference to the children at your school. And you'll see that there's 3 different sets of challenges with Big Maths Beat That. And we call them challenges because we challenge the children to beat their best ever score. And that's why it's called Big Maths Beat That. It's a constant challenge to the children. Can you get your best ever score? And typically we do this every single week. It's usually on a Friday, but it doesn't have to be. And if you did an assessment with the children, and let's say there were 10 questions, you could say to the class who got 10 out of 10, who got 9 out of 10. But we don't do that. That's more of an attainment conversation that just rewards the high attainers every week. This is all about celebrating increases and celebrating progress. So we say, who beat that? Who went up by 1? Who got their best ever score by 2? And so on. So immediately that changes things. It means every child in the school could go home with a sticker on a Friday that says, Big Maths, I beat that. You could have the child in the class with the lowest raw score that's gone up the most, so they would have the biggest celebration. So that's why we call them challenges, not tests, for example. And in this video, we're going to look at the Learn It challenges because that's where we would suggest that you start. Now, a Learn It is a number fact. If you said to a child 3 add 4, you want them to just answer straight away 7. You don't want them counting on even for a moment. So that's what we mean by a Learn It. It's a special kind of number fact. And you'll see here that we have a 15-step progression for Learn It. The bottom step there is when the child knows the answer straight away to 1 add 1, 2 add 2, and it finishes at the top there with the 12 times table. So it's very important for the teacher to know which step each child is on. Which step have they got the recall secure? And when that step is secure, we begin to look at the next step and input on their recall for that next step and gradually move them up. And these challenges will help you to know which step each child is on, and they will help to drive the improvement and move the child on to the next step. Let's look at one of the challenges. This challenge here, you can see, has 3 of the steps on, and we would give this sheet to the child if we thought that they were actually on step 8. That's the step we're trying to get them to secure because they've already secured step 7. And we'd say to the child, work your way from left to right. Doesn't matter which order you do each question in, but you have to do the step 6 ones, then the step 7 ones, then the step 8 ones. And if we've got it right, they will whiz through step 6 and step 7 on this particular sheet, and they will start to watch their score go up each week on step 8. And there's a fixed time limit as well for each challenge, and we have recommended times that we would give the children, and there's also a jingle that goes with it, and it has the music at the beginning, which the children really enjoy, and some music at the end. It's the same jingle for each of the challenges, but perhaps a different period of silence in the middle, and that's when the children typically turn their sheet over and write their answers down as quickly as possible. If you found in this particular example that the child had actually some incorrect answers on the middle step there, maybe some blanks, so they just couldn't think of an answer, then we haven't quite got the right sheet. We need to go back a step and see if they can secure the whole of this sheet now. If on the other hand you found that they whizzed through the whole lot, you could say to the child, can you do it a bit faster now? Can you do it in 59 seconds instead of 60 seconds? Can you beat that? Can you do it in 58 seconds? Eventually we'll be ready for the child to move on to the next step as we move forward. And this is very useful because you can see here when we expect the children to hit each step as they come through school. You can see as well, very importantly, that the last 2 years of their primary education don't have any Learn Its. They've finished all of their tables fact at this point, all 100% secure. It's also quite fun to get the children to track their scores themselves. They might be able to do that on a line graph themselves, for example, tracking each score as the weeks go by, watching the line go up. And we have a golden rule, no flatlining allowed. The child's recall is always improving. Some schools like to use that with younger children, just with a block graph, and the children shade the tower each week and watch the tower get taller. They're handling their own data. So one final thing, when you look at a sheet like this, if you were the child's teacher and you were really concentrating on step 7 in this particular term, and if it all goes well, we can move on to step 8 the next term. But notice how the step 7 Learn Its are still on the child's sheet when we move on to the step 8 recall. And notice the term after that, the step 7 Learn Its are still on the sheet. So in other words, by having the 2 steps always lagging behind the one that we're interested in, it means that each Learn It stays on the child's sheet every week for a whole year. And that's very important in terms of moving the recall into the long-term memory so the child has really learnt this for life. And because the last two steps always lag behind, it also means that the teacher can constantly see if there's any learning gaps that we don't want. We have the transparency to see that for each individual child. Anyway, we suggest you get started with the Learners Challenges, and we hope you have a lot of fun doing that with the children. And then perhaps after that you will want to move on to the Click Challenges and the Safe Challenges, and that makes up the 3 parts of Big Maths Beat That.